Today, we'll talk about simultaneous interpreting. In simultaneous interpreting, like we said in the beginning of this course, it's an oral transfer of a spoken message from one language into the other. While the speaker is speaking or delivering his speech, the interpreter starts following what he's saying in the other language. The question is, before we start talking about simultaneous interpreting, which one is difficult? Simultaneous or consecutive? Everyone?
Simultaneous, of course.
Simultaneous, of course. Why?
Because it has to be at the moment.
Okay, so before we start talking about simultaneous interpreting, let's talk about the definition of that type of interpreting. In simultaneous interpreting, both the speaker and the interpreter speak at the same time. Unlike consecutive interpreting, in consecutive interpreting, the speaker speaks for a couple of sentences, for a couple of sentences, and then stops. Then the interpreter starts to work, starts to translate what the speaker said into the other language, into the target language, orally. One of you said simultaneous interpreting is more difficult. Do you think so, everyone?
I think it's easier than consecutive.
Easier than consecutive. Why?
Because in consecutive you have to do more than one thing while you are translating, taking note and memorizing and many things.
Too much load in your memory, yes. You have to concentrate and take notes and memorize. In simultaneous interpreting, do you memorize? Do you take notes in simultaneous interpreting? Do you
No.
take notes?
No.
You can't take
No.
notes. If we have a look at the differences between consecutive and simultaneous interpreting, we'll find out that simultaneous interpreting could be easier in terms of the skills required for that job is not as sophisticated as that required in consecutive interpreting. In consecutive interpreting, we listen to the speaker face to face, right? But in simultaneous interpreting, we listen to the speaker through earphones. This is the first difference between the consecutive interpreting and simultaneous interpreting is that in consecutive interpreting we listen to the speaker face to face. We can see the speaker. But in simultaneous interpreting, in the simultaneous interpreting setting, we only listen to the speaker through earphones. Here, you may have a lot of pressure on the interpreter while interpreting consecutively. When you face the speaker and the audience as well, you can have an experience face threatening. You may be embarrassed sometimes. You may be under pressure. You may be. Some people are a bit shy. They don't want to make mistakes in front of people looking at him, right? It's very challenging, actually. Don't you think so?
Yes, we do.
So consecutive interpreting is more challenging psychologically. Also, in consecutive interpreting, you take notes, like you said. So it's essential to take notes in consecutive interpreting because sometimes the speaker likes to go for a couple of sentences for a paragraph, so you need to take notes. But in simultaneous interpreting, there is no opportunity to take notes. You can take notes of numbers or names while listening, okay, but you don't take notes like in consecutive interpreting. In consecutive interpreting, it should be relatively accurate. It could be more accurate than in simultaneous interpreting. In simultaneous interpreting, it's less accurate. If you manage to deliver 70% of what you heard, done a good job. In consecutive interpreting, you don't need equipments, technological equipments, but in simultaneous, you have to use, for example, headset, soundproof booth, audio system, microphone. But in consecutive, you can sit face to face with the audience and the speaker. In consecutive interpreting, like I said, you are under pressure all the time. They are monitoring you. They are watching you. The speaker is monitoring your performance. The audience also is monitoring your performance. The staff who hired you to do the job are monitoring your performance as well. But in simultaneous interpreting, you are monitoring yourself. It's self-monitoring, right?
Yes, true.
Have you got the point, everyone?
Yeah.
So now the question again, which one is more convenient for you? Which one is easier?
I believe for myself it's the consecutive interpretation.
You still like consecutive?
Yeah.
Because you are not trained for simultaneous interpreting.
True.
Now we'll move to how to train yourself for that job, for simultaneous interpreting.